Let's put it in.
We are back. We don't have really that long of an agenda tonight. But we do have some legal matters we do have to take care of. So what we would like to do is, if we could continue on the agenda and get that done, and at the next citizens forum that follows this at the end of the legal matters that we take care of, the votes, we are asking you to please stay. And we will continue to keep everyone here. And we can, because right now, after that, we can't have a back and forth. But at this time, in all sincerity, really, please stay. Let us get through this agenda, and then we will continue on with your situation, okay? Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I make a statement before? It'll be quick.
A statement?
Just saying that I agree with this, what we talked about, and I'm hopeful that, we can have everybody speak. But again, I've reiterated for over a year that we host a meeting with DEP and with State Representative Vitale or anyone else in the legislative government that can help to come here to videotape it. We're talking about contamination. Let's put it out there. Let's get all of even our questions, if we want, directed at the DEP. Here, I think it's extremely imperative. The reason why is because this is going on.
Okay, well, let's bring that up.
Okay.
When we meet again, okay? It'll just be,
fine.
let's get through this agenda, please. So, and then that way we can focus right on you guys. So I'm going to ask Commissioner Holmes if you would pick up then on the approval, or,
Well, I'll knock off the minutes. Regular meeting minutes of February 8th, 2016. I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, that was your...
yeah, I hear you. It's, okay.
Wishful thinking there, Holmes.
That's for sure.
Approval of the minutes, take the roll, please.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel. Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Leva.
Yes.
Mr. Con.
Item number 8, approval of warrants.
Mr. President, I move we approve warrant number 3 of 2016 totaling $3,932,896.32, comprising the general and sewer fund payroll for February 11, 2016 in the amount of $674,439.61. General and sewer fund payroll for February 25, 2016 in the amount of $620,859.20. The general and sewer fund payroll for March 10, 2016 in the amount of $605,779.46. General fund disbursements number 3 of 2016 in the amount of $1,277,157.46. The sewer fund disbursements number 3 of 2016 in the amount of $545,763.57. Community Development Block Grant Fund disbursement number 3 of 2016 in the amount of $59,991.25. Home Grant Fund number 3 of 2016 in the amount of $25,807. Capital Project Fund disbursements number 3 of 2016 in the amount of $116,649.88. The credit card statement ending February 27, 2016 in the amount of $6,448.89.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Oliva. Comments?
These were approved by our township solicitor. All his questions were answered to his satisfaction. He recommends, as do I, that we approve these warrants.
Discussion? There being none, take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Leva.
Yes.
Mr. Con.
Yes. Number 9, ordinance number P5, 2016. Mr. Siegel?
Yes, motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance P5 2016, authorizing the acquisition of property at 900 North Eagle Road in Havertown, subject to review and acceptance by the township solicitor.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Holmes. Comments? Discussion? There being none, take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
And Mr. Connell.
Yes. Number 10, ordinance number P6, 2016.
President.
Commissioner Wexler.
Make a motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance number P6, 2016, authorizing the acquisition of property at 1320 Steel Road, Havertown, Pennsylvania, subject to an appraisal, review, and acceptance by the Township Solicitor of the agreement.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lewis. Discussion? Comment? Take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
He stepped out.
Okay. Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes. Item number 11, ordinance P7, 2016. Authorization.
President, I'll make a motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance P7, 2016, authorizing the lease of property at 40 West Manoa Road, Havertown, Pennsylvania, for police and construction storage.
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Oliva. Comment? Discussion? There be none, take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
The lease for Boyle Brothers.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
And Mr. Connell?
Yes. Number 12, resolution number 1998, 2016. Commissioner McCluskey.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a resolution modification to the Oakmont Fire Company loan. Make a motion to adopt Resolution 1998-2016, approving the Oakmont Fire Company request to reduce annual debt services payments from $160,485.17 to $120,000 until the balance is paid in full on December 31st, 2025.
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner McGarity. Comments? Discussion?
President, I've reviewed this, and we all reviewed this last week in our work session. While they are reducing the debt payments, they still will be paying the balance in full. I think it is good for the township and good for the fire company.
And just to add what we talked about at the work session last week, there was a lump sum payment made a few years
Yes,
back.
significant one ahead of time.
That has to be taken into consideration of good faith by the Oakmont Fire Company.
All good?
Take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. President.
Number 13. Yes, Mr. Holmes. Commissioner
I
Holmes.
do, I move we adopt Resolution 2004 of 2016, authorizing the transfer of 2015 funds.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wexler. And this was questioned and talked about at the,
This was discussed at the work session. It is a ministerial act we need to take each year to make sure that any funds left over make it into the following year. They have, they will. We need to take this step to do so.
take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes. Item number 14, resolution number 2005, 2016. Mr. McGarity. Commissioner McGarity. This is the mowing.
Okay, motion to adopt resolution number 2005-2016 to enter into a mowing agreement with PennDOT to maintain 8.50 acres for the 2016 mowing season.
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Oliva. This was also discussed. Comment? Take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes. Number 15, resolution number 2006-2016. The application for county aid road program. Mr. Siegel.
Motion to adopt resolution number 2006-2016, authorizing the township manager to file an application for county aid with the county for an allocation of the county liquid fuels tax funds.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner McGarity. This was also discussed. Comment? Take the roll, please.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey? Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes. Number 16, Commissioner Oliva.
Yes, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution Number 2007-2016, authorizing Chief John Viola to execute any documents with PA DOT and be responsible for the safety and welfare of residents utilizing Caracung Drive commencing Sunday and only on Sunday, April 24th, from 7 a.m. to dusk and ending Sunday, November 6, 2016.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner McGarity.
Mr.
Comments?
President, just one question. Is it, do we have one day in the summer that we don't do this on a Sunday, Caracong's mini meet, or has that been worked out in the past?
John, do you recall?
I think it's still closed. But it's,
I thought there was one, I mean, I just as long as you have the ability, anytime
That's the day
mid-season for
that
an issue.
they have the festival.
Yeah, they have a big swim meet,
It's already
that's,
closed.
that's in
anyway.
addition to.
so you close the road for that meet?
Closed because that's on a Sunday also, and it's closed anywhere for this. So it's dedicated to their program on that
Okay,
Sunday.
that's not a problem. I remember the first time we did it, I thought in order to be able, people to get there from both directions, that was the one Sunday we didn't close it, but we still.
Because they
that works out.
have their stuff, their things in the middle of the
Yeah,
street.
Oh, they actually
No
use the
questions
street.
there.
Oh,
We're
okay,
not
all
wasting
right.
any time
I
with
was
it.
thinking of a meet as opposed to a festival that they have.
There is a 5K run, but that's up on the other side of Caracung Drive. It doesn't-
All right. Thank you. That was my only concern.
Roll, please.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
And Mr. Conlon.
Yes. Okay, number 17, citizen forum. Before you go there, Jim, your question about the trail.
Yes. We stopped the second part of that. We actually laid the stone, the base. We were concerned we didn't pave because of the amount of moisture was in the ground and getting cold, because we would have paved it. So as soon as the weather breaks, we're talking maybe 2 weeks worth of work. It shouldn't take long. So if the weather continues, we'll be in good shape. We'll hopefully start in the next few weeks. Probably about a month, I would say, to be on the safe side.
Sorry to keep you here that long, Jim.
Mr. President,
Mr. Holmes?
I know I don't have any new business. Do we want to figure out whether we have any new business before we go back to the citizens forum?
No, I think we should go to the
Do you
citizens.
believe there is any new business on, does any commissioner have new business?
Yeah, I'll do it.
I don't.
No.
No.
No?
That's
Okay.
on good. Okay, there being none. We're not, other business will go at the very end. And the continuation of citizens forum for non-agenda items. We will return the floor, the podium back to the floor, and we will start with back and forth, but Mr. Freed, if you would please come up, because you have been actually the person that we've, has been involved, giving most of the communication coming out from this, so please.
You have been the liaison.
The leader.
We'll give you,
I don't know about that. Don't want to be, though. Like I said, I just want to say, too, something like way back when all this started, I took issue with what Lori had said, I think much ado about nothing or something like that. And I realize now that what she was being told by the DEP and some of the other people was indeed, this is no big deal. I think Rich Rupert said it's a quart or a gallon or whatever. Meanwhile, it ended up being like 7 55-gallon drums or whatever. But I apologize, Lori, for being emotional during that period of time. So, but that said, what do they say? Insanities keep doing the same thing, and we keep coming and talking and so on, and then we keep relying on the DEP. And I think there's, like Dr. Levin said, there's just, when the DEP shows up and we overhear them, Tom and I, criticizing the very standards they're there to enforce, like, it's crazy, and the project manager for the development is there basically running the show, and they're like agreeing, and there's just no oversight. And we would record it if we legally could, as additional proof, but we can't do that, so we take notes and tell our attorney and all that kind of stuff. But I guess the question is, given what's not happening there, and given that, you know, there's been benzopyrene, I think, 351 times the standard found, naphthalene 38 times. I mean, we could go on and on about very serious chemicals, and now coal ash, which I think Lori was surprised about, no fault of Lori's, you know. And then what's troubling is, even in our common understanding of these things, the response from the DEP is, well, you need I think it's a TCLP. That's actually a standard for a landfill, not a residential district. It's just nuts. Like, I guess, long story short is, keep going this, it's up to the DEP, it's up to the DEP, and then we're finding the DEP is really inept. So what do we do, you know? I mean, I've heard of other situations in the township where someone doesn't do this or that, and you're allowed to halt something for a while. That's what we would like, is some kind of injunction or say, hey, let's stop until they get their act together. So, anyway.
Okay. Who wants to take the first crack at this, Lori or?
And I'm not criticizing you guys. I'm kind of like, this is what, I feel like there's like a tennis match going on. Nothing's getting resolved. The guy builds one house, another house, on top of
We
stuff.
can answer one at a time, like back and forth while he's here right now. So Jim, did you, as far as the oversight goes, requesting more
Get an
oversight?
injunction, how about that?
Well, that's a pretty broad question. I mean, an injunction is something that you'd have to apply to the court for, you know, and you'd have to have some kind of reason to get an injunction. You'd have to, I mean, and maybe you do, you know, but it has to be.
Hey, we have a list.
Yeah, you would need to go into court and get a, you know, there's like 4 or 5 factors you have to prove in getting an injunction, you know. You have to prove that you have a likelihood of winning the case ultimately. You have to prove that you know, that it's relief.
This
that-
is being recorded too, so
Okay, cool.
you could all get a DVD of it or
Okay,
YouTube.
relief that you otherwise couldn't get someplace else, that it's something more than just the money damages type of relief. I don't know, I didn't expect this question, so I don't have the 7 factors in my head, but if you call my office, I'll let you know that for sure.
In the interim, because
You have to come up, yeah, so we can get this all on tape.
in the interim, because Mr. McGarry refuses to get involved, is there anyone else that we can deal with that will represent us out of you guys? Can anybody else step up? Because we're not getting any help from Mr. McGarry.
Mr. McGarry has been at the meeting, went out to Norristown, but Mr. McGarry, I'll let you answer that first.
Well, it is a DEP problem, and that is Mr. Vitale's problem. He is your state representative. I am your local representative. The DEP is governed by the state representative. So
How many
that's where you
times
should
have
be
you-
asking these
How many
questions.
times have you asked Greg Vitale to get involved on our behalf?
Steve D'Amelio has asked many a time, right over that camera.
You asked him on our behalf.
I made a statement to Fox 29 News in Norristown that day.
But I don't want to go back and
That was
forth
an embarrassment.
That
like
was an
this,
embarrassment.
but I will say that Mr. D'Amelio, yes, did reach out, and usually in order to do that, it's collectively by the board.
Not just Mr. D'Amelio. I have reached out to Greg Vitale myself and spoken with Terry and on behalf of the group, and I'm told the same thing that you're hearing.
So we all, I
President?
guess what my next question is that how are we going to get together an action plan where, you know, we're all talking the same language and that one person isn't saying, talk to this guy and talk to this guy and talk to this guy. Maybe request another meeting with the same parties to get some answers.
I would do this. I would make a recommendation that this board, from the board president, we write a letter to whoever we need to write to, whether it be Representative Vitale and the DEP or state senators, to host this meeting here. I mean, we keep having this, you know, different people talking back and forth and finger pointing. We agree with you. I mean, there's certain things, as the solicitor said, we can do and can't do. One of the things I'll do is, and I know many of my colleagues, Mario was at that site, Chris has been at that site, former Commissioner Jane Hall's been at that site. And have you been there? Kevin's been there. So we've been there. I know what I saw.
I just think it's bizarre our own commissioner in the 7th Ward has not been there.
Well, he has agreed and publicly stated several times that Vitale should be here and host a meeting here. I mean, if I have to be here on a Friday night at 8 o'clock, I'll do that. But we need, it's imperative that we get all the parties together, the DEP, the residents, your attorney, our solicitor. We need to get everybody in the same room. And I understand, I mean, I was on the phone call from Norristown. Mario went to Norristown along with Chris, I think.
Hey,
Jimmy.
I went.
Jimmy went, I'm sorry, Jimmy. And you know what, that's all well and good, but it's better that it be here where we have accommodations for senior citizens. We have bathrooms here. If somebody needs to go, we have the cameras here. We can videotape everything. If there's nothing to
Well, I
hide,
do-
wait, let me finish. If there's nothing
yeah.
to hide.
Hold on, Dave.
My point is this: if there is nothing to hide, then Vitale, Representative Vitale, should be. I'm not saying he has something to hide. I'm talking about if the property is being maintained properly and remediated properly, then why not have it here? What's the problem with getting it on record and have your questions answered? We can listen to what's going on with the DEP, and if we have suggestions or concerns, we can mention that to the DEP. All 9 of us.
I mean, do you think that the way we've been coming here for so long, do you think we need to now go to the
Well,
town?
let me finish up, though. Commissioner Holmes had a comment to make.
I was
Mrs.
going
Simmons.
to ask Mrs. Simmons to understand what we're doing right now, which is that we've stayed at this meeting and now dedicated this issue to give us the opportunity to lay out these issues right now and try to figure out and plan what to do. May God strike me dead, I stand here and defend Jimmy McGarity, but it's going to do us no good to have a conversation that includes why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that. We are, for months now, for a year now, people
Trying
here
to
on the
move
board.
forward and see who we now talk
Right,
to.
and so I'm asking, so what I want you to believe me when I tell you is that this board, to a person, doesn't want anybody not enjoying their backyard, doesn't want anybody's children to be affected by these fumes, doesn't want a builder to act with impunity, and doesn't want people to have no faith either in their local government or in the DEP. We have to rely on the DEP to do their jobs. That doesn't mean we can't push them to do those jobs better. And that doesn't mean if we're told of instances where you don't think the DEP is doing its job or not qualified to do so, that we can push them. But we can't, we'll never have the qualifications, or under the law will we have the jurisdiction to act with the same kind of power and have the ability to do this as the DEP can. But the more we learn, and the more we accomplish now, the more we can narrow these issues down so that we can, point right at them with a couple of remedies that we want, the more we can accomplish. But I want to assure you what President Connell has assured you and what everybody on the board is trying to assure you. Each of us in our own way, and I've not been on the site, and I have admit that. I don't admit it freely. I admit it with some embarrassment that I have not been there to see the site. I have children of my own, and if this were in my neighborhood, I would be screaming. It is. But it doesn't mean that every one of us isn't sympathetic to what's happening. And this is just one of the steps, but we hope, at least tonight, a productive step to give you some confidence that we will do everything we can, but also for you to understand that we really do have to rely on the people whose principal jurisdiction is the environmental issues that people deal with. And it has to be very frustrating to you, Mr. Freed, to see, to hear news of somebody stopped this kind of store from coming on this block, and yet you folks won't stop this builder from doing stuff with toxic waste. And again, it sounds crazy for me to say this. It's easier for us to stop a store from going on this block than it is to interfere in an environmental issue, because that's somebody else's bailiwick. And we don't necessarily have the know-how, although we have extraordinary staff members who do everything they can do, and an extraordinary township manager who, is our face with those organizations. So I just, if I could just beg your indulgence on that going forward, that we proceed forward and not forget and forgive, but just recognize right now we're trying to get something done.
I appreciate that, thank you.
I appreciate, obviously, your advocacy, and you, Mr. Freed, and all the neighbors.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I made a recommendation that a letter come from you on behalf of the board
It
I
will
don't know
come
if we,
from the board,
did we do
right.
that? We didn't do that yet, have we?
Not yet.
May I make that recommendation
Well,
that you send a letter on behalf of the
if
board?
we can, and you certainly can, but if we could just get,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I
you know,
just
it's,
wanted.
I'm going to go with the second row.
They want, they want.
Mr.
Can I-
Wood, do
can
you
I
wish to
say
come up for, okay.
I just want to say, the reason why the board doesn't answer your questions is because we allow staff to do that. Lori knows what's going on with this case, and we allow her to do that. Rather than have it coming from 10 different sources, everybody talks to Lori, and then the the email comes out from her. So it's designed that way so that you don't have 10 different opinions going on, that it's all coming from one source.
You're in that first row.
No, I'm not, I'm not part of this, your community, but I did visit the site, and if you would allow me just a couple of questions here. So, last fall, we were here in this room discussing this. And here we are, and it's March. So what do we do to compel these parties to come together, spearhead a solution? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to wake up in June and still be standing here trying to answer these questions. And we do, all of us are extremely sensitive to this. No one would want this to be in their backyard. So, Steve, as much as I appreciate the thought of the letter, you and I had discussed that before. I had a very, very lengthy, heated conversation with Greg Vitale's office. Not once, not twice, 3 times. I asked his assistant to come in his stead. She refused. So we're spinning our wheels there. I know that we don't have the jurisdiction. I know how hard Lori's worked on this. And at the end of the day, it leaves us. But how do we compel, Commissioner Holmes, how do we compel to move forward in a way that will give us some sort of resolution, or at least a timeline?
Do we know if anyone's reached out to Senator Leach?
I didn't. I thought that we had, but I could be wrong. I thought early on when Jane and I talked about it, I thought.
Senator Leach has appeared before us numerous times, and he's a very responsive person.
Just sent his new assistant, and I think,
It was at the last
Well, the last time Dalen Leach was here was about the bullying. Okay, remember the bullying up?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay.
His new assistant.
That's the last time
his
he
new-
spoke
his new-
before
His
us
new
here.
assistant was here at the January meeting and introduced
Yeah.
herself and said if there's anybody, if we
Well,
can
that
reach
might
out
be
to
an
her.
avenue for us
She
to
gave her
reach
her
out to.
contact information. It should be in the minutes.
Yeah.
Right,
I
and
think
we
we
haven't
should.
told about the budget, that nobody could go anywhere, and that was one of the
Oh,
issues.
right.
But Larry brings up a good point. I mean,
'Cause
if we
there's a
didn't,
travel ban.
We should reach out to him too.
Yeah, I mean, anytime
Very
we've
good
asked
point.
him, anytime we've asked Senator Leach for,
Reach out
to
to
be
him
here or
and-
do
and-
something, he's done it.
Can I just add that if we're sending a letter, and we heard discussions about the DEP meeting, that the builder and the developer, and any prospective homeowners should also be invited to that.
Sure.
Do we have access to that information? I mean, do we know
Well,
who the
we
prospective
don't,
homeowners
I mean,
are?
you don't have to invite the prospective homeowners then, but you have to invite the builder.
The builder,
Not.
the builder was at the
Right.
the meeting out
So
at
he
the
should be
DEP.
here.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, no, I get you, but we didn't set that meeting up.
Yeah,
We-
I'm
We
sorry,
contacted
I'm
Greg
gonna-
Vitale's office, and Greg Vitale
Yeah, but
was the one who
I just gotta
spearheaded
address
that
an
meeting,
issue.
put it all together, and then, so it was him making the.
Okay,
the
this
decision.
board has no business communicating with future homeowners at that place. That they've got a contract with the builder. We do not need to be involved in tortious interference with contract issues. That is, if anyone else wants to contact the homeowners, but this township has no business interfering between the builder and the future homeowners.
Right, we need to focus on the homeowners right
That's not
here
the
that are-
solicitor telling you that. That's just
I
your
think what he
co-commissioner
was
saying,
trying to
stay
do
away from that.
was Make sure that we covered all our bases, and I think that's
We
all.
can, and the builder would be crazy not to do that, you know what I mean, to let those people know, but we gotta be careful about interfering
Well, they can.
in that. Right, I said, anybody else can do what they
But we
want.
can
I'm just
contact
advising
them.
my
Good suggestion.
colleagues on
Good
this
suggestion.
board,
Right.
as a fellow board member, that we should not get involved in that
Okay.
specific
But it was a good
relationship.
suggestion, and maybe they could do that.
I don't know.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah,
That's a good suggestion.
Chris?
you have counsel, right? I mean,
We do, yeah,
So
yeah.
you should run those questions by him before you contact anyone, that's what I would suggest.
And his advice on injunction is far better than our solicitor's advice, which wasn't advice at all. It was just done in his professorial nature, since he represents the township and not the folks who live there on your street, and you have to understand that.
Right.
But you do have counsel.
Right.
Before I have Mr. or Dr. Levin come up, Mr. McGarity, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to state what Steve said was correct about Greg Vitale's office. Send a letter down. Larry just mentioned Greg Vitale's office. Mario has mentioned it. Jane Hall, who was on the board, mentioned it. And now I'm mentioning it. Would you please send him a tape of tonight's meeting so he can hear us all mentioning it along with the letter, Larry? So we want Greg to come here about the DEP, which is a state issue, to help us with this issue and get it resolved.
Yeah,
Mario's
he
right.
was-
If,
he would ha-
if each of us respond, we're all sending different
Yeah.
messages, and it's really not good to be doing that. So it's better if it's here and we're all together than having me say something in an email and then Mario respond in an email, which may be a little bit different than what I'm thinking or seeing.
Yeah, it's all got to come from one source.
Yeah.
That's the way we
I mean,
do it
that's
with our
why
police
Lori-
department, anything.
that's why Lori does a lot of the-
Anything when that's the way we like to do it, because we're
It's in the
getting it from
interest of
one
the
source.
community, so it has to be.
But Greg Vitale has much more influence than this board does with the DEP. So that, you should be contacting him also. We're contacting him on
And
this
Senator
side.
Leach, too. I mean, I think we
Yeah.
should.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely can contact Senator Leach, because
Larry,
they.
anybody else?
They have,
Well, I mean, the
Well,
important
we
thing
can-
is we've got senators and representatives.
Larry,
We've got
anybody else?
Senator Leach.
Other than him?
What we can do is we can also meet in executive session and discuss putting the meeting together
Okay.
for that as well. Dr. Levin?
Yes, listening to your conversation, I understand the anguish that you're going through and the anxiety. I gave you two examples. The second example indicates the one that I got involved in. How did I get involved in it? The community held a meeting, and I decided to attend. And they were in the dark about how to proceed. They said that DEP wants to do an Act 2 on this property. What do we do? They knew about it then. They had had a letter. I do not know how long that letter had sat on their desk. In this case, the DEP notified the township that someone had come in asking for an Act 2 in your township. Would they have done so? And who did that letter go to? And what was its disposition? That's what you need to know first. How did they notify you? For example, the state can't say, I don't believe, to a township anywhere, we're coming in and we're doing an Act 2 on you. Will you cooperate? What is the basis for that cooperation? Now, second, Greg Vitale has been at meetings for several years now, indicating basically that he wants to leave early, he doesn't want to get involved. The same thing holds true for this project. He's assigned his staff director, who doesn't know anything about this site, and who's trying to help.
I must say, I'm going to interrupt you. She has been incredibly helpful, and
Helpful,
she communicates.
yes, but he's turned it over to
I
someone
understand
who
that, but
who's
I don't.
not-
I just have to say that every time I've talked to her,
She's a great staff person.
she's a great staff person.
a great staff person.
Not her, it's not Representative Vitale. She's involved as she tries to facilitate the DEP. When we remember that last time I was on the phone with the DEP, and she had the DEP contact me, and then the rest of the board. But she does respond and she does act.
She does act, she put up
it's not vitality.
the phase 2 report of the builder. However, she left out every single diagram. I was deluded into believing that I had seen the whole thing at the meeting that was held. I'm saying that it's a skill. You put in all of the information. However, let's get back to the point. If you're going to do a letter to DEP, the first thing you want to know is when did they notify Haverford? And what did they say? The second thing is, did Haverford decide to hold a meeting at that point and invite those people who are going to be affected, including the developers, including the builder, to find out how cooperation would take place? Those are the key facts initially. If you don't have those, you're shooting in the dark. My personal opinion is Greg Vitale won't help us.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't ask.
We had a
You need
Q-
to ask. You need to put, you know, you need
We
to-
had a separate Q&A and discussion on stormwater runoff for the lower end of the township. We held it at the middle school.
And he left early.
Yes, he
So
did.
all I'm saying is that we will reach out and try and attempt the same thing here.
He's the deputy chair of environment, energy and environment. I don't think he wants to get involved with DEP.
Doctor,
Thank you.
that could be true, but we're certainly going
Nope,
to.
at the
Yes, sir.
time that the letter is being created that goes to DEP, I'll be very happy to. Give me a call.
Thank you very much.
It's on my list.
John Ryan, 534 Cathmere Road, Havertown. I guess my question is, can we just stop issuing permits for this builder at this point, or deny him permits until we're satisfied? We can certainly stop work, we can do stop work orders when our zoning officer is not, our codes officer is not happy with the way work's being done. I don't know how many more permits have been issued for that, but with the conditions that they are, it's certainly different at the time that when they were.
You want me to-
I
I'm
think
sorry, I
that
didn't mean to
was
interrupt you.
asked before, but yes,
Yeah.
go right ahead, please.
I think, that's a good question. It's a hard question. We need to look at, and one of the things that we're relying on, as it was mentioned earlier, is none of us have the expertise here in the, the remediation and the mitigation that the DEP has, and they also have the responsibility for it. So we're looking for them, and we haven't heard that yet either. We haven't heard anybody from DEP say, shut the job down, that there's
And I guess
something-
originally their guidance is that we do it by lot situation.
Yeah.
And the thing is, experience tells us that lot by lot really doesn't happen in a development that size. Dirt gets moved from one lot to the other. So like clearing one lot at a time as we're building it really doesn't happen. And just as, us going forward and issuing building permits, I guess we could say we have to stop and wait for the DEP to tell us that it's all right that we issue it at that point, especially with our new conditions. It'd certainly make it, I don't know that that's not, unreasonable to say that, hey, you can't build that building until the state tells us it's all right. And I don't think that Greg Vitale's office is the one to determine whether we should be building houses or not. We should be determining whether we should be building these houses or not.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying, but we have to have if we're going to take back building permits and we're going to take those steps, then we need to make sure that we have the right information, that we're not just doing knee-jerk responses,
And I wouldn't take them back, but I would certainly halt them moving forward.
It's something we can look at. It's something we can look at.
That's something that we can do at any particular time, is just slow down that process.
Yeah, but
not take it away.
you got to. I don't want to just answer that just and say yes, we're going to do that, or no, we're not going to do that, because there's a lot of
Can't slow it
consequences from that. I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the people that live over there, but also the right thing for the people that have property rights too. As you know,
Agreed.
you gotta,
I'm always for the
Actually, yeah, and let me answer, then I'm not the solicitor talking. I'm just one of the commissioners. Yeah, I have to understand that there'd still be some action we have to undertake. We can't just show up and say, you can't build anymore, because it's not, we show up with the police and we say, we'll arrest you if you continue to operate that machine or use that nail gun or pour that concrete. we'd have to get our own injunction to stop them from building and have to have some authority under the law to do so. If it's time to put in the electric and they can't seal the walls until the electric permit's gone, I mean, there's various times during building that we can do appropriate things, and our zoning office can do that, but we don't have the power to just go in and say construction halts now, because we say so. We don't have the jurisdiction to do that on an environmental issue. Now, it could raise itself. I mean, if tomorrow, literally, something started shooting out of flames started shooting out of the ground, we could certainly act in the public safety interest. But I just have to remind you that even though we are government, we're not
Understood.
the
And the only reason I'm asking is there's like post facto information, like
If you
we're
s-
now going to be testing underneath the 2 buildings that are being built, apparently, for these toxic substances that we've already given permits to, and doing like I guess the DEP will be testing underneath these buildings. And part of the problem is they're testing underneath these buildings because this whole idea of the DEP doing it site by site, lot by lot, really isn't effective, and I guess we should be going back to them.
One of the questions that I will be asking the DEP is, this can't be the first time. I mean, it's Pennsylvania. I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania. I know all about building on contaminated sites. So they had to have dealt with this before, where a situation revealed itself mid-building or mid-construction, mid-development. We need to know what they do and what do they expect the township to do. One of the things that we all feel very strongly about, but maybe haven't articulated to you, we will cooperate with what the DEP, if the DEP needs us to do something as a local government, we will do it. You know what I mean? In terms of if they need information from us. If the law, as our solicitor advises us, gives us certain rights, standing rights to raise issues or to alert them to things that we think they haven't seen, we will exercise those duties, and we'll find out what those are, and we'll do those. That is, to the extent that we are empowered to take those kinds of steps under the law, we will, see about taking those steps.
And then I guess obviously the finale of that is, would we issue use and occupancies on these properties knowing what we know?
Yes. Hold on.
Again, a part of what we know is what experts advise
Yeah.
us. So,
Give me a sec.
if our decision at the end of the day to issue use and occupancy reports was just that we invited everybody to say so, and if anyone said you shouldn't issue it, we shouldn't issue it.
No, and I understand.
You know what I mean? So we're going to have to live by certain effort. If the DEP declares that there's a problem and they stop the building, the builder's going to squawk, and I'm fairly confident. I'm not going to speak for the rest of my board members, but I don't imagine I'm going to come strongly to the builder's defense in that situation.
And I kind of assume that they already have a little bit, since he hasn't done anything since the early December.
I don't know enough about that to answer that question, but I don't know.
Commissioner Levy?
No construction's been done since early December.
What I want to say is we have to be real careful about the issuing of the permits and talking about slowing down permits or stopping that sort of stuff. We open ourselves up to litigation.
Well, that's why I just made it very clear. Yeah, there's just what we have.
When conditions arise, we
The DEP would have to would have to say, you have to shut the site down, or they would make the decision that there's something in the ground. We can't say this is in the ground because we don't have the expertise.
Right. I guess we
They're
just
the
have
ones
to
who
ask
the
if there's
expertise.
something in the ground.
I agree with you, Commissioner Holmes. It made a very good point about what you said. But
Oh,
can I
I'm all
ask-
for property
can I-
rights.
Can
There's no doubt about that.
Can I ask Ms. Rufo a question?
But I think
Okay.
Mr. Freed's jumping at something
Oh,
right now. Does he
well,
want to
he
say
always
something?
talks.
Thank you, John.
Just give me a second, Dave. You wrote an email on March 4th, and you said that the builder decided, and I'm quoting you, right? The builder decided to put, I think it was contaminated dirt, is that right? A few feet from my property for several months, uncovered much of the time. And you said that you asked, I think you asked Dave, can you please ask Representative Vitale what his thoughts are on this? I would really appreciate some guidance because you were concerned about the soil, the contaminated soil, your children and all that. Did you get an answer as to why that was uncovered for 8 months and what happened with that?
Could you just come to the microphone? So No, go.
Dave, go ahead, Dave, answer.
Anybody, just go up to the microphone and speak, because we need to hear it all.
What we got from Rebecca Flannery, I think it was, from the DEP, she told me that the reason the one pile that was sitting closest to the walking path had been sitting there.
That was all the
and-
way this way, right? If I'm at your,
Like closest up towards the new path.
right, I saw it,
Right?
yes. You showed me
And-
that, Dave.
What's that?
I think you, got.
Yeah, that's okay. But, and we've got pictures of all this, like, it was supposed to be covered up, and it was dusty and blowing all around. Well, we found out that was like the most contaminated pile, and the reason was because, that was when we came in and laughed here, because it was like Jersey wouldn't even accept it. And,
I remember that.
and,
Remember that?
it was so contaminated that they couldn't find a place. And the other assessment she made was kind of like, it was something along the lines of, and it would cost a lot. So it sat there, and on top of it, and we've got the same thing now, and thanks to Lori, is we've got piles sitting there now again, and this is of the coal ash, and the coal ash goes airborne, right? And it exceeds a lot of standards. And, Lori warned them, and they went over, and my wife was there, and they like barely covered them up. And I was getting ready to again send emails tomorrow of the last few days of how uncovered and they've blown all around. And then the videos of the water leaving the site.
Dave,
again.
let me stop you there for a second. So, Mr. Solicitor, in that case, do we have, if it's highly contaminated soil, which I don't know. I mean, I have to go by what Dave said.
And look, all this
And
is
what's
in the
email.
DEP file itself,
Okay.
so you can find it.
I'm just saying, I'm not an expert. I can't say that.
I know that the DEP is looking at the materials that were alleged to be coal ash and doing some testing on that. From what I understand from the DEP now is that they have not confirmed that that is in fact coal ash. But they are looking at it, and so anything that comes up like that, we're going to, we'll send on to DEP who has the expertise to do it, yeah.
So in that case, it's usually Lori who handles those things and contacts the DEP and says, hey, you have contaminated soil uncovered, right, Lori?
Well,
I actually did contact Pat Patterson at the DEP and asked him for the copy of the air quality report from the latest site visit, and asked for clarification about the coal ash, because I had a conversation with David Broman and said I didn't believe that, that there was a finding, because in a prior conversation with Pat Patterson, he said that, but I wanted David to check it out himself. In today's email, Mr. Patterson says, he received emails from me and Terry Wisniewski from Representative Vitale's office, wanted to provide you with some information regarding the area being referred to as coal ash, as well as initial reports from 2 recent visits to the site by members of the air quality program. There has been no confirmation that the material found on the site is coal ash. Nevertheless, the material was sampled and analyzed for coal ash and petroleum constituents, and it attained Residential Act 2 standards for all of those constituents. These results were presented in a report from the developer received on December 12, 2015. Additionally, with regard to the visit by our air quality program on May 9, I'm attaching the report our staff submitted to their program manager. I'm also pasting the text of an email from one of our air quality supervisors who visited the site again around 6:45 p.m. on the evening of March 12. And it reads, on March 12, 2016, between 1845, this must be military time, and 1915, I drove around the neighborhood bordering the McCandless site. Additionally, I walked on the pathway in front of the McCandless construction site. There was no construction activity going on. I smelled burning wood, assumed from fireplace, throughout the neighborhood. I didn't detect a malodor. Once again, I hope this information is helpful to you, and please contact me if you have any questions or it could be of further assistance. This evening, I forwarded it to Joanne and to David. It includes a copy of an inspection report that indicates that there were 2 inspectors that visited the site, and on arrival at 13:35, so like 1:30,
1:35 in the evening.
I noted a slight petroleum-like odor on the northeast side of the site near the fence gate. Local neighbors Gene Wazorek and David Freed informed us that the odor is strongest in the evenings and after rain, especially while earth is being moved. Our observations led to no no other odors being noted after walking around 3 sides, northeast, southeast, west sides of the site. Mr. Wazorek and Mr. Freed indicated that they did not detect the odors at that time and place. The third neighbor was present, but I did not get name. Weather conditions were, I think it says 82 Fahrenheit, winds 5 to 10 miles per hour, southwest, sunny. And then off-site at 14, 15 hours.
Last testing December 12th.
They said that the results were presented in the report from the developer received December 12th.
Yeah, come up to the,
That's interesting because they didn't start digging Lot 6 until December 30th. Now, oddly enough, that's when Fox showed up that day and they were filming them because they stopped their backhoes right in the middle of the Lot 6 excavation because it was clear they hit something, and they stopped, and about that time, the developer saw us and moved a different piece of equipment in front so they couldn't shoot anymore, you know. So anyway, I guess to not disputing Lori, but disputing the report, if they're sourcing December 12th soil test, they didn't even dig Lot 6 until December 30th. So there would be another report that we need to look into. And just, I guess, and I think I'm finished, is the way this builder, my understanding, lives in Drexel Hill. And, you know, if this were my job, I'd be over there every day, being he's about 10, 15 minutes away. His fence has been down. Like, if you go into his entrance right now for about 3 days, his front entrance fence is down, right? So kids can walk in there. I mean, every now and then we'll catch somebody, you know. On top of it, it's like you know, thanks to Lori, you know, she emailed or whatever and got them over there on, I think it was late, you know, mid last week. But it was really sloppy. They just barely covered the piles. And within, I think, hours, it had blown around. We haven't seen the guy since. I mean, if I lived that close, I'd be over there every day making sure I didn't have, you know, given anybody any ammo to give me crap about it. And you don't see the guy. And we know he lives, you know, 10, 15 minutes away. I mean, there's just an overall feeling of, like, who gives an S, you know? Yeah, like, it's just very sloppy considering the seriousness of this stuff. You know, and I don't know where it comes from or why it's, you know, again, it goes back, why is it allowed?
Well,
but
let me-
anyway,
let me ask
that's
a question,
basically it. you
Mr.
know.
Solicitor, is there any harm in one of us or the president or the township, or even you, reach out to the builder and say, the residents have been coming to the Board of Commissioners meetings expressing these concerns. We're just asking if you can ensure that, you know, the piles are covered and they're not coming off, and just that,
New York
just
Codes
that.
Department.
Exactly.
The codes
Well,
department.
whoever, it doesn't matter to me. It's
Yeah.
just somebody, that's something we could do. If the fence is down, and the children are walking into there, then you know, the DEP's not here. In all fairness to them, they're not there 24/7. We're right here. So we could reach out to the builder and say, hey, your fence is down, they need to come up. That's a, you know, contaminated site.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing that, and I think Lori did do that, right? I mean, I think that's what happens, isn't it? Isn't that what happened with the fence? Did I not hear that you contacted them? Okay. Yeah, so,
Did the fence go back up?
yeah.
Very good.
There's a lot of places where you can just walk, I mean, literally, like, there's a couple places you could drive a car through it. I mean,
We'll just get rid of the contaminated dirt instead of covering it and not covering it and not covering it. I mean, now the summer's coming, just ask the builder to
Lord,
get rid of it.
why is the dirt still there? Do you know?
There are, excuse me, Michael. There are 2 piles of soil. I actually had a report from last week from DEP that included reports about the dirt. And in that report, sorry, it's taking me so long. They're saying that the inspector arrived at the site. This was on, find the date, 3/9. The inspector arrived at the site at 9:30 for a 10 a.m. meeting. Walked to the tributary to Nailor's Run to try and locate asphalt along the bank, which were mentioned in some prior complaints. It was too overgrown for me to walk along the banks. I will look from the site. Another, a gentleman from Penn PR, and I don't know who Dave Martin is.
It's the project manager.
Okay, the project manager for the developer arrived at the site around 9:50. I informed them that Kevin Boyle from the Delaware County Conservation District was also meeting us to discuss E&S control issues at the site. Dave, Tom, and I entered the property and walked over to Lot 6, the most recent excavation area on the site. From the lot, there are 2 piles of soil on site, one near the lot, which was the clean fill scraped off that was brought onto the site to grade the site at the beginning. So there was clean fill imported to the property, and they took some of the clean fill, and apparently it's on, must be on Lot 6. The most recent excavation, and walked over to Lot 6, I'm sorry, I think I missed my place. Dave, Tom, and I entered the property, walked over to Lot 6, the most recent excavation area of the lot. There were 2 piles, one near the lot, which was clean fill, scraped from at the beginning, and a pile on Lot 1, which is from the excavation which had previously been tested to meet the Act 2 standard. Around 10 a.m., Kevin Boyle of the Delaware County Conservation District showed up at the site. We walked down to the area in which there was a complaint of water leaving the site and onto the neighboring property. There were 2 silt fences in place along with a silt sock as well. In my opinion, it does not appear that water could have left the site in that area. I also investigated the concern of old asphalt along the banks of the tributary to Nailor's Run, which had been mentioned in several complaints recently. There is a section of old crumbly dried asphalt along about a 30-yard stretch along the banks of the tributary. I was informed that this could be addressed in the future. I noticed that there was some groundwater that had not been covered yet. I did not notice any type of sheen present. The foundation and basement walls were installed on lots 2 and 3. 2 and 3 have been joined for a single development site. While I was on site, I did not notice any odors while I walked around the site from the entrance to the property boundary of the houses on Washington Avenue. I noticed the pile of soil were moist and upon inspection, not likely to be blowing dust around the site. I did notice that there was a house with its windows open along Washington Avenue. I was informed by Kevin Boyle that the soil piles did not need to be covered if they were going to be used within 2 weeks. Now, covered for Conservation District is different than our covered. We required it to be covered to address a dust nuisance. It's a dust nuisance. From an environmental standpoint, like erosion and sediment control on what the Conservation District does, the Conservation District requires stabilization, which is you hydroseed, you put down hay, you do something to create take those disturbed soils and create a permanent cover over them to try and stabilize them. And from an environmental standard, nothing in this report indicated that those piles were contaminated, so.
Thank you so much for that. David, you comment on that?
A couple of points in closing. The report that Laurie has referenced is a walk in the woods. There's no evidence that there was any data that was actually taken. There are ways of sampling air that are much more extensive than the ones that they suggested. It is sampled over a period of time. That's the first point. The second point is that you have an entree to initiate site characterization. You have an entree because each site is its own Act 2. And as such, you can say that there will be a cooperation between either the residents or the township on doing this Act 2 along with the builder developer. Both will do the work simultaneously at the same time.
Who's both again? Who'd you say was both?
Excuse me?
Both whom you referring to?
Both the developer who is doing the work on the site for the Act 2 and the township. And that is because they have made each of the building lots its own separate site characterization for the Act 2. That has to be passed before DEP will give approval. That's the way I got involved with the second site, which was on the report that I gave you. That they agreed to have us do the work along with the other party. When we found contamination, though, and they found contamination, I said, let's not do any more. This site is not going to pass. The problem is going to be that the community is going to be altered because of it. Irretrievably.
Okay.
Would you need
Okay.
clarification on work?
I'm sorry?
You want clarification?
Yeah, I don't
on
know
the
what you're
work?
talking about. What work do you expect the township to do?
In order to complete the site characterization that has to be done for an Act 2, it is going to be on each individual property. It's going to have to meet the standards that DEP has set, and therefore the sampling procedure has to be defined. This provides the opportunity to actually monitor what they are doing and collect samples of our own. And it's because there are several different Act 2 sites, each one of which has to meet the qualifications. Otherwise, the site is not acceptable to DEP.
I don't think we even qualified to pick up soil samples.
Take samples of that site.
Dave, you want to comment on what
We don't
Lori
have the
found?
resources.
The email from Lori. Dave,
We're not going to subcontract.
thank you for, Dave was, after you made your comment, Dave Freed was saying, it looked like you weren't agreeing with that.
No, there was something that, not that with Lori, I think it was with the report cited.
But that's what I mean, what the report said, not what Lori,
No, I know, I'm just reading.
what the DEP said.
I'm trying to remember what it was.
Well, they said that apparently they,
You were talking about the water flow.
No
through
pressure,
the silt.
no pressure, buddy.
The barriers. The report indicates that he did not believe the water would go through the barriers, right?
okay.
Right, so the report that Haverford Township got from DEP said that water would not flow through those barriers.
Exactly. And so what I'm going to be sending the group tomorrow,
That's not what that is. That barrier is not to prevent water from flowing on someone else's property. If water flowed over land down a hill naturally, it's a silt sock. It's intended to impede silt from leaving the site from disturbed soils and entering onto the property. It doesn't block the surface flow of water.
Okay, I was just pointing out what.
but that brings up a really
I
good
apologize.
point.
for
But
Don't shoot the
I was
messenger.
just pointing out what he was.
that is just like when they were caught discharging, they were using a silt sock or to pump through. But the problem is, it's halting silt, or it's supposed to be, and it is, but the water is still leaving, and there could be petrolates in that could be going on to Tom's backyard. And, I mean, what the inaccuracy, I think that, again, Miss Flannery's assuming is she found, I think, in so many words, she said, I don't believe that the water left the property.
she also said, correct me if I'm wrong, there were no contaminated piles there, is that right?
No contaminated what? Piles?
Piles.
Right.
Is
Yeah,
that right,
that's a
Laura?
good point, too. She doesn't reference.
She said, in that report that Lori read, the DEP, now understand what the DEP is saying, that they found no contaminated piles at that site. Am I right? Did they not say that?
I think so. I think that
Right,
It says that one was clean fill and one was excavation from the other lot.
and it wasn't contaminated.
Right.
Most recent piles. So,
So is your,
since they're kind of saying there's presumed coal ash, but the December 12 test says it wasn't anything to worry about. The problem is the Lot 6 excavation occurred on December 30th, and I don't know what the test results were of that yet. So, anyway.
Okay.
So, whatever the next steps are.
Now, I want to give an opportunity for anybody on this board that wishes to say anything. I open that up to any other commissioner.
are we all in agreement that we will send invitations out to Senator Leach, as Mr. Holmes suggested, or from you?
Yes, we are in agreement to contact the state representative, the state representatives. In fact, let's CC the governor's office,
That's fine.
you know, and.
Good idea, Chris.
And
Very
see
good
if,
idea.
let's any
Good
influence
idea.
we can get from there.
I do want
Mr.
to,
Wexler, I'm sorry, did you have?
I mean, I have walked through the site a few times. I've done a couple of jobs for Boyle. I put their phone system in and took a walk through there. It's disappointing to me that we go through, we do a lot of things to protect the health and welfare of our citizens. We make a substantive change in a resolution or an ordinance or something, we have to go back and do it twice. I'm not a lawyer, but there's been a substantive change in the ground where we approved the Land Development Committee. Very substantive change. Had we known prior to approving a land development plan that there was tetrametryl garbage there and unknown quantities, I doubt any of the 9 of us would have voted yes for that. I really do. I mean, all differences aside, if we knew that there was environmental garbage there to the extent more than what first came up, it was a couple of quarts of oil from somebody that
That's
supposedly
exactly right,
emptied a
Bill.
lawnmower.
Good point.
Had we known that that was there, that to me is a very substantive change. If, as Mr. Holmes said, if I was a resident there and they filed an injunction, as an elected official, I would be a friend to their party and say, and lend my support that say, hey, why can't we stop this until DEP gives a total blessing? Now, I know probably there's 100 legal reasons from the 3 lawyers on here that why we probably can't do that, because we're too far down the road. But I hope we truly learn in the future that if we have development on any site where we think there's a potential for environmental thing, that we mandate complete and utter approval from whatever agency is responsible for the environmental, where it's DEP or on the other site that's under federal control, whether we have lock guarantees that it's a clean site and we allow something to progress there. But I just can't believe that I'd hate to see 6 houses there have to be ripped up and somebody go bankrupt and lose a home because we found out it's contaminated after we've done that. I think if somebody was an honest broker, we sat down and worked with the developer and the builder and with the DEP and say, hey, listen, can we take a time out? If they haven't done anything since December, it can't be that urgent that they get these homes built. And with the publicity, I'm sure their future homeowners would be reticent to move in there until there's a guaranteed safe site that their home is built on. And I know that we can do things, if you talk to the engineer, I'm sure there's vapor barriers that can be put in, like we did with the YMCA that Dr. Levin has pointed out for years. And there's probably safe ways to do it. But it's not, to me, it's not a clean site. So I think, if we could call, you call for your kids and your grandkids, it's a timeout, but I think it's in the developer's best interest, and it's in DEP's best interest. And we, as the honest broker, to help our citizens out, to make sure that it is a safe site that we build on there. We don't have to do it with animosity. We just need to reach out to them and say, listen, DEP, we're not stopping it, but we're recommending that they stop
That's an
until
excellent
you give a
point,
clean
Bill.
bill of
Great
health.
point. Are you officially making that recommendation? Because I agree.
Well, I mean, I think it's the
Great
right thing to do.
recommendation.
I think if they file whatever, if we could do,
We can ask that the board or state that the board.
well,
of
we're in an
Commissioners-
open
Larry, you
forum.
okay
Our
with
meeting's
that?
pretty much, I don't think we're to take action right now. I think we agreed that we would not take an official action at this open forum right now. But and it's an open forum, so I'm voicing my opinion.
And I'll agree with it. We will.
If in the staff's function, if we get our solicitor and staff to look at that this week
You look at it?
and
Yeah.
go there.
I agree with you, Bill. Excellent point. Very, very good.
Okay. Mario?
yeah, I just want to get across to the residents that we're not turning our backs on you. We've done all that we can possibly do, and we have to work within the constraints of the law. So we're trying to do whatever we can, and we will continue to do that. But we just want you to understand that we live in this neighborhood. If Washington Avenue is right down the street from my house, if that's if my kids play right around there, they go down to Bailey Park all the time. So it's just as important for me and for everybody on this board, what's happening over there. We're your neighbors. We're here to support you. We're not career politicians. None of us does. We're just regular people. We have the same jobs as most of you, and so I want everybody to understand that we're doing all that we can, and we will continue to do that.
To close out the citizens forum, I just want Dave, Valerie, Joanne, Tom, tell Jean and Cheryl, please, You have got to know and understand that this board is a government of the people. Absolutely. We'll never turn our back on you, and we never will. So moving, and you've got to know that we are also emotionally involved, passionately involved in the community as you are, whether it's your street, my street, anyone else's street. So moving forward, we will absolutely make that commitment from this board, that we will do everything that we possibly can do to find some resolution to this situation here in your neighborhood. But know that we are a government of the people working for you. Absolutely. Thank you very much for staying this evening. We greatly appreciate it.
Letter to DEP asking when they notified Haverford that there was going to be.
Got it written down? Yeah. Got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are going to.
Motion to adjourn?
No.
No.
Hold on.
No,
We still
our
have more
next
stuff.
step is to,
When are we going to give an update to the,
well, we're going to organize, we're going to get together, put this together, but then. we
By the
should-
next
we'll-
commissioners
yeah,
meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll reach out
All
to
right.
them with the next,
all right, so by the next admission, by
but
the
we
next.
need to meet. We need to meet.
By
Okay.
by our work session, we'll have done everything we said, and we'll give you an update on that, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
And to finish up the evening, does anybody have other, well, no, we're just going to go right into other business. Commissioner D'Amelio?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The Haverford Police Department and Giant Supermarket will be hosting Coffee with Cops on April 2nd at 9 a.m. to noon. Our police officers will be there at the cafeteria in the front of the store to answer any questions from our residents. Our residents can enjoy a cup of coffee, compliments of the Giant store, food market store. I think it's an excellent opportunity for residents to come out and meet the police. This is very good community relations. They can answer any questions you may have or concerns. Chief, you want to elaborate on that a bit?
This is a really a national program that's been going around for a few months now. Officer Mike Flynn, who's our community officer, came up with the idea, and we approached Giant, and they readily agreed to host with us. So we think it's a good community event. We have it advertised, and we'll have officers there from 9 till noon on April the 2nd.
9 to noon, Joe?
9 to noon, that's correct.
April 2nd, what,
Yeah, John.
Saturday.
Saturday? Oh, good.
I know it's going to sound like a commercial, but Giant really does a lot with the fire department as well as the police department to, get involved with the community, so.
Send something to all of us so we all know.
I'm sorry?
You can just send something to all
I
of us.
certainly
so
will,
we
send
all
it tomorrow.
know.
Yep. We're having a flyer made, so as soon as
Only the
flyer's
guys in
made-
the picture are allowed to know about that. Yeah, that's nobody else.
All right, go ahead. Hey,
Can you read that?
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, Commissioner McCluskey.
There's no.
I'll be quick. Merwood Park is having an Easter egg hunt on March 19th, and Paddock Park is having one on March 26th, and I had some other happy thoughts, but given the hour, I'll pass till next
This
month.
is early.
We know it's earlier.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I haven't.
Thank God we had a work session.
Commissioner Siegel?
God.
Before I was on the board, the meeting started later, to the chagrin of some. I
You're
don't
right.
have anything other than to remind people that we will be having a joint third and fourth ward constituent meeting on April 20th. There'll obviously be more information about it, but representatives of the Y, the district justice, and others will be there. Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis?
Yes, I had mentioned this in January with the impending closing of the Ardmore Avenue and College Avenue bridges upcoming, specifically the College Avenue Bridge. We're going to be hosting a series of public meetings sometime in May, coordinating with the chief and the deputy chief and PennDOT and other folks, and obviously Commissioner McCluskey and any other commissioner wants to be involved. But we're going to have a series of public meetings to educate the public about the closings, the improvements they're going to make to the bridges, and hopefully address any questions. And of most concern is the mitigation plans they have for for the traffic, the cut through traffic that's going to obviously increase as a result of the bridges closing. So I'll keep the board informed, and I'll be working with my neighboring Commissioner McCluskey and others to host this meeting sometime in May. That's all I have.
Commissioner Holmes.
I neglected at the work session to thank our newly minted chief and deputy chief and our township manager for coming out to a good constituent meeting in the 6th Ward and back in February. So thank you, Mr. Gentili. Thank you, Chief Viola. Thank you, Deputy Chief Hagan, for coming out. The constituents who were there had a great opportunity to get their questions answered by knowledgeable people in the township and folks eager to make life better here. So thank you all. Congratulations to Deputy Chief Hagan, and that's all I have.
Mr. Connell, I have a lot, okay. Starting off with a letter from Lou Verzella to you and to Larry Gentili. Dear Chris and Larry, this letter is a thank you for your assistance in planning the execution of the award ceremony on January 20th, 2016 to recognize and appreciate Haverford Township's fire company personnel who had in recent years achieved their life membership status. Your additional recognition of the newer numbers of fire company personnel that recently graduated from the nationally certified firefighting training course demonstrated to the community, to all fire company personnel, and to especially those individuals that received an award that evening, that the Haverford Township appreciates the contributions and selfless dedication shown by their hometown heroes. Please convey to all Haverford Township commissioners that Brookline Fire Company appreciates and thanks them for all their support that we have received from Haverford Township in the past and in the future. From Lou Verzella and Chief John Viola. That's that one, okay? Next in line, I just wanted to mention the fellow you all, I'm sure, read about in the newspaper, Bob Tracy from Springfield, but he found a bag on State Road in Upper Darby with $15,000 in it. I congratulate Bob. I worked with Bob for 25 years, and that's the type of guy Mr. Tracy is. So I just want to tell you what a great person he is. And he turned that into the police, and we'll see what happens from there. Next thing is the Kevin Kane 5K run, which is coming up on April 3rd. That's a Sunday at 1:30 at Annunciation Church. So that'll be coming up. I want to congratulate my granddaughter, Kelly Del Gallon, and all of the young ladies of the Haverford Township cheerleaders and all the people who helped coach them. Congratulations to Joe Hagan and all of our police officers who came out to support Joe Hagan, and thank you, Chief Viola. And opening day for Brookline AA will be 9 a.m. to question mark, so we'll say 9 a.m. to about 11, and we'll all run down to Giant and get some free coffee. So that's what I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just want to add there that
pancake breakfast this Sunday. Pancake breakfast.
Don't forget about that.
8 o'clock to 1 o'clock at Brookline Firehouse. So please come and show Viola you really care about Brookline.
yeah, and I just want to add there that, and I thank you very much for the kudos from Brookline Fire Company, but everyone to know that it was a spectacular committee that was that
it
the
was
Bureau of
well
Fire
put together. No doubt about
that
it.
the representatives from each company absolutely are just outstanding guys, very interested in all their firefighters. They did an absolute great job. Commissioner Wexler.
Once again, on March 31st, I'll have my general meeting at the Hilltop Civic Association for all the residents in the 9th Ward. There's 3 major things. There's 2 sites to consider for the temporary relocation of the skate park, as well as we're moving one of our polling places from one of our precincts over to the Edmonds Avenue location. So that is there. And also, again, my congratulations to Lieutenant Hagan on his appointment as Deputy Chief, and congratulations to the entire department on the well-deserved promotion.
Vice President?
All right, I just want to, again, congratulate the cheerleaders on their championship. It was nice for them all to come out. We really appreciate that. I also want to remind everyone of the fundraiser for the skate park, which is Saturday, April 2nd at the Creek at 7 p.m. And also congratulations to our new Deputy Chief.
Anything about the award? What's it? The award? recreation.
Oh, yeah. We'll be going out tomorrow to accept an award from the Pennsylvania Society. It is the Pennsylvania Society of Parks and Recreation. And they are giving us an award. The award is the best agency in the state. So this, our rec department, our Parks and Rec department and Tim Denny received the highest award given in the state of Pennsylvania for our agency. We will be accepting that award tomorrow up in Seven Springs.
Thank you very much. And just congratulations, Deputy. I think he's gone.
He's celebrating with his family.
He's out. Yeah.
He's got.
Give it to Viola.
And I also, actually, this month, 100 years ago, 1916,
Jimmy was born?
you're stuck on that, aren't you? That actually the township
Speaking of
took
driver's
the
license.
deed to this property and started building a township building. So it was
Are we
100.
sure that was properly recorded?
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah, I was sitting in that chair when that was happening.
Yeah, but you were.
You're a good sport.
So, yeah, so there'll be a lot of 100 anniversaries this year, especially with the police department will be kicking in for that. In closing, I just want to say thank you very much to the staff, Mr. Byrne, Mr. Gentili, Ms. Widdop, and Mr. Pannoni, and all this evening, and to all my colleagues. Thank you very much for addressing this very important issue that we had here tonight. I mean, all our issues that come here are important, but it was recognized really that when a lot of us had questions and concerns that the board came together and said, you know what, we seriously need to sit down and continue this relationship, with the community. So thank you very much for taking the time this evening to do that additional citizens forum. And hopefully we will definitely move forward on this and try to get some answers. Anybody have anything for the good of the township?
Motion
Entertain a
to
motion?
adjourn.
Second?
Second.
So moved.